It's like 5, but with 1 extra second. I feel like that's a decision that got made in a meeting that didn't have that many people in it.
That's fair. So my opener today is sharing with the class. No, so when I was secluding myself to go record the podcast, Michael's going to take the baby out for a walk. And so he turns to me and he says, "Oh, tell Jordan that he's my favorite member of and he just like gives me the stare, and we stare at each other for probably a good minute, and he just goes, "What the fuck is your podcast called?" Thanks, sweetheart.
It's a weird thing to think, because first of all, the name sucks. I think both of us have agreed that. I like the name. It's first of all, it's weird to think that in this coming year we're going to hit a 5-year mark.
Yeah, someone actually pointed that out to me the other day, and I can't believe it. It's been that long.
That's astounding to me. So the name has, I have affinity for the process of us doing it and the memories and all that different stuff. So that's associated with the name. But the name itself is like, you get used to hearing stupid ass names like PlayStation and Xbox, and all of a sudden it just rolls off the tongue. But Split the Veil is a really stupid name.
Yeah, it probably doesn't like help that like STV, like the shortening of it, always reminds me of STD. But
yep, there's that too. There is that too.
That's the joke of it,
I would forget the name also. I mean, it's weird because we don't reference ourselves and say Split the Veil that often, but
yeah, we kind of like never talk about it. Like the only reason anyone would think that we're called that is because it's on the branding. We don't like, I'm like, "Hello, welcome to Split the Veil."
Yeah, we don't do welcomes, which is my favorite thing. I think the cold opens, as we call them, is just my favorite way to do it. It doesn't make any sense. It's like a holdover from radio. I think I've said this before on older episodes, but it's like a holdover from radio where you have no information. So you do like the hourly, this is what you're listening to, this is who I am. But that doesn't make any sense because it's on their phone. They can see the name. Yeah. They can see your name. They can see my name. We're a guy and a girl, so I guess it's a little bit easier in that to distinguish.
That's true. Yeah, it's not like my brother and me when you first start listening, they're 3 guys that are all related and all sound the same. You're like, who the fuck is who?
Yeah. Our voices are distinct enough where it's not hard to figure out who's talking, and so it's like we don't need to say the episode name or the number. Or I still listen to podcasts that I like where I just go, "Why are you guys still doing this? What you playing? What you been playing? What you guys been playing?" And I just go, I like you guys, but I don't want to listen to this shit. I just don't want to do podcasts like it's 2009 anymore.
Oh, woof.
Because some podcasts have the same format.
Are we going to be stuck in the, like, whatever, was it 2016, I guess? Are we going to be stuck in the 2016 format? Is that what we're going to do? And in, 2030, people are going to be making fun of us and our cold opens, and we're not doing the jibble-jabble thing that everyone does?
I don't know. So what's going to be the new thing in podcasting? We're going to start selling NFTs? Like, what are we going to fucking do?
Here, I have an NFT of my right butt cheek, everybody. No, I was thinking live streaming. Like, we don't live stream and have a live audience because that's real popular nowadays.
For the podcast, you mean?
Yeah.
We don't do premieres for the episodes either, do we?
I tried it once, and then I keep forgetting to do it again. So that's on me, I guess. And I also, completely missed the premiere, and I thought I could just come back and, look at the comments and see what it was. But no, it just, anything that happens in a YouTube premiere just disappears into the ether.
Fun.
I have no idea what happened.
I think, we stream how we stream, but I think streaming as it exists in the quote-unquote mainstream is fast, it's quickly evolving, and it's quickly becoming a thing that it's weird. It makes me feel slightly old, I guess.
Yeah. I never got into Twitch. As a user, as a content creator and as a user, I don't watch Twitch. I don't get Twitch. I got so used to watching content on demand. I can't imagine having to go back to the era where they're like, "Oh, so-and-so's starting at 2. I got to go hurry." No thanks. I'll watch it on my time. And the fact that Twitch is really bad at saving their own content. And you only have so many VODs that you can have saved or something like that. Or at least it was last time I looked. This is not. We had like a bunch of topics to talk about, and none of that was this.
Well, it's kind of okay. So we should tell people. I mean, we have a topic. I don't know what the title is going to be because we never know what the title is going to be when we're recording. But this episode is going to be. It's been a while since we've done one like this because normally the format of our show is we have one main topic and one sort of like silly opener. But we have like four topics that we're going to talk about today, which is unusual. But that's just kind of how it worked out.
Yeah, today is just like a grab bag of topics.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a party favor, Split the Veil episode.
Well, let's start with Dragon Age Day, because that happened, was that like 2 weeks ago at this point?
By the time people listen to it, it'll be at least a couple weeks, yeah.
Yeah. So the one, I would like to give a shout out to everybody that came to my stream, because I had like a 4-hour lecture-a-thon where I pretended everyone was in school. And I LARPed as a teacher, I guess, for 4 hours. And I raised, and I say I, but it's really y'all, raised $1,000, $1,420.69, and I love it. I love that for us as a community. It's so stupid.
Good job, everybody. Good job, everybody.
There was that pause. I'm like, oh no, he's doing something.
Yes, you knew I was going to the clip. Good job. No, really, it was phenomenal. I was just kind of very, after the fact, saw what was kind of going down on Twitter, and I was like, oh shit, this is insane.
Yeah, my original goal was like 200, and I thought that like that was a generous amount. I'm like, yeah, we could probably get there. And then like way over that, like 7 times that amount. I'm like, oh wow, that like you guys are great.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That is really a very good job for everybody being generous and supporting good causes.
And like overall, the entire, and I don't think it's quite, it might have ended today. I don't know. But it's like, it was, it's a little over $26,000 in total.
Oh, that's insane. Yeah.
I know. And like the people who are running it this year, well, I don't know because there's a bunch of them this year. They were saying that they raised this year almost more than the last 3 years combined.
Phenomenal. That's really great.
Which, you know, congrats to the community. I think that's great. So yeah, congrats to the Dragon Age Day team, for like pulling that off. Really great stuff. A lot of the community coming together and raising money for able gamers. And then the thing we actually want to talk about is Bioware. Last year they released 4 short stories. This year they released 2. And the 2, there was like, the content of the story doesn't really matter much, so we're not going to like focus on it, but there's one little line at the very beginning of one of them. Did you read them at all?
I did not read them at all, and I feel a little bad because Caitie's going to have to like basically brief me on air for this, but like, you know, I've been working a lot of this weekend. Like, I really have not had a chance to catch up on a lot of this stuff. So I told you before we started recording, like, you have to brief me on the entire context of this because all I understand is that, you know, time jump, whatever.
That is fine. So there was one story, just to like give a brief of anyone who missed. There was one story, which I will say, if you haven't read To Winter Nights, these stories, well, the one that we're about to go into sort of makes sense. The other one, like, you don't know who these people are, you don't care. But if you liked the short story Hunger from To Winter Nights, you're going to like this. I don't even remember what they're called, like the title of them. But there's one about wardens, and it's just real cutesy pootsy. Great artwork. It's cute. I liked it. Then there was one about the Mortalitasi. The actual content of it is just a cute little story and like a dynamic of these 2 characters. Emrich, who is again in To Winter Nights, and then Johanna. But about these 2 characters and like their relationship. So that's one thing. But the very, very beginning, like it's the very first line of the thing, which I didn't look it up, so it's going to be for me a little bit inaccurate. But it says 30 years ago in 922 Dragon. Now 30 years from 922 Dragon is 952 Dragon. When Trespasser ended, it was 942. So that means theoretically, and there are some people who say that that's an error or there's something else, or there's 100 different theories going on, that Dragon Age 4 could potentially start 10 years after Trespasser, and the comics, at the very least, the oldest like in lore date is 946, which is like, you know, 2 years after Trespasser. which everyone's like, whoa, okay, with everything setting up in the comics and Winter Nights, like things with the Canary specifically and Solus seemed like really intense and like happening now, but like having a 10-year time gap is kind of like, oh, that's a lot of time. What? What's going on?
Yeah. No. Okay. That is interesting.
So now that you've been caught up to speed on what's going on, how do you feel?
I mean, so I have thoughts immediately, I guess, of what I think the implications are.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to go first? I'll go first if you want me to.
No, you go first. You go first.
I think so. You mentioned two things specifically on the Cunari and on Solus. The Solus thing, I don't think, and I'm shooting from the hip here on my impressions, but like, whatever, right? Like he's basically a god, right? Maybe he can bide his time. Like his scale of time is not necessarily the same. He's not in a rush, basically. Now, that doesn't mean that that's not directly at odds with certain specific events and happenings. Like I think it could be, with things that he's done, but like that's kind of my initial impression there. The thing with the Cunari is it wouldn't surprise me at all is if we get to Dragon Age 4 and they were like, yeah, there was a thing with the Cunari. Here's what happened, right? Where they basically just, they cover those events in summary. And maybe because of the result of, Cunari invasion or whatever else, that sets up something that is going on in DA4, right? The circumstances that we walk into in DA4 are post-Cunari conflict, which Cunari conflict seems like kind of unavoidable at this point.
Yeah, I guess first on your Solus point, that is exactly what I thought. Like, this is a guy who, was immortal once. Like 10 years is like, oh no, I overslept. Like it's
God damn it when the Dread Wolf oversleeps.
Yeah, really. Like it's nothing to him. Like I could totally see if he's still immortal. I know there's a whole bunch of what if because he's mortal with the veil. I don't know. There's a lot of questions we don't know the answers to, but I could totally see a reasoning of him going, well, I don't really want to fight my friends, so I'm just not, and then waiting it out. Waiting out the Inquisition. He could probably sit there, twiddle his thumbs, and gain power for like a couple decades, and then everyone who really knows how to fight him is going to be gone. And if he can just do really good spy work, no one can leave notes for like like I could see that being his thing. So like in that regard, 10 years is nothing. But I think the Canary is a little bit like that. I feel would have to be quicker. But like you say, like maybe there is like something else coming, another novel, another comic run, another short story, who knows, where that gets resolved off screen, because that's sort of happened before, or like even in like the first 10 minutes of the game, because that's kind of what happened between like the Mage and Templar War and Inquisition. It was this huge thing, like that is the climax in Dragon Age 2. The mages and the Templars, poof. And then that's like now showed the world that what Templars truly are made of. And then again in Asunder, when it like actually explodes and everything is like, oh god, here it comes, the Mage and Templar War. It's going to shake Thetis to its core. And then like something just fucking nuts happen and it just gets overshadowed. And like you kind of like at the end of Inquisition, you're like, oh yeah, yeah, I guess I did defeat the Mage and Templar War in the first act of the game. Oh, I get,
Yeah.
So I could see that happening with the Canary, even though like that does kind of stink. But like it's not the first time they've done that in the series. So yeah, why not? So yeah, but like, so then should we expect something, or is it going to be like the first act of the game? That's what you're doing. I don't know. I'm a little.
Do you think it's possible Bioware doesn't know?
Doesn't know what?
They don't know what they're gonna. They don't know what they're gonna. Well, maybe they're leaning into potentially doing a 10-year time jump because they don't know. They haven't decided yet what they want to do with the Cunari War, if that's what you want to reference it as. Like they're literally leaving it open ended, just to be like, this is fluid. We're kind of coming up with this as we go along.
Well, what my personal pet theory about it is, if the time skip is true, and I do want to touch upon some of the theories I heard about that. But I think what they're doing is that there are whatever marketing, or I don't know who would decide this. I feel like this isn't like an in-lore thing. This is more of a meta thing. Because how long ago has it been since Inquisition? I think this was year 8 since Inquisition was released. Is that correct?
Oh, you mean like the real world? Like, yeah. No, 2014,
Yeah.
the end of 2014. So we're coming on.
Yeah.
We've just passed 7 years.
What if this is kind of a, like, maybe they're going to try to ballpark Dragon Age 4 release in 2024, and so it kind of matches up, like, look, it's been a while since these things happened, both in the real world and outside of it, because that's kind of what they did between all the games. There is about a year of true in between the release of Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2, and then the true start of Dragon Age 2. I can't remember the very specific time skip in between 2 and Inquisition, but it's ballpark a similar number. It's like maybe 2 years instead of 3. I can't quite remember. But, like, maybe that's just, like, a thing they do, and that, like, for some reason that helps players. I don't know. See, here's the thing. I come from a perspective of I've thought of nothing else for the past however many years I've played this game. So, like, I'm still there in a 946 Dragon, and maybe they're expecting other people to, like, kind of their memories are fuzzy a bit. It's all ancient history, so they're going to place the game in a setting where those memories would kind of match that.
I mean, look, if it ends up being 9 years between the release of Dragon Age Inquisition and Dragon Age 4, I think you're spot on with what you're saying. For a lot of players, it's going to be hard to just act like we're playing through events that are happening 6 months after the end of Trespasser. That's going to be weird. It may make more sense to give a canonical fiction-driven reason to say, hey, let's catch up with certain characters who maybe are returning, or let's remind people. Let's remind a character, right? I mean, if we're talking about a 10-year gap, you could legitimately have a protagonist who was a very small child when the events of Inquisition were happening and is now, like, their early 20s or something, right?
Oh, you mean Kieran, the old god baby?
Not okay. All right. Is that what people are saying? All right.
Yeah. He would be in his 20s now.
Yeah, bet. Okay, that's not bad. So, like, you could have these sorts of situations where maybe it makes sense to sort of catch up a newish person to the events of the world. For those, I mean, it's all speculation, but I buy it. I think that makes some practical sense.
So yeah, I think if anything, that's kind of what it is, and it's more like a meta trying to help the new people get into the series, which I know a lot of people are like, oh, the newbies or whatever, but, like, that's kind of what the at the end of the day, they are a company, and, like, they care about the core fans, which I consider us in, but, like, we don't make the bulk of the money. You know, they need to help rope in and grow the fandom and try to get new people in. So then you really need to think about that angle. And I think that's where the 10-year gap is coming in. And then maybe if, you know, things had gone well and they were able to release Dragon Age 4 earlier, we wouldn't have that 10-year gap. We would have the 5-year gap, or however how long it took.
Yeah, the real problem, the more I think about it, is that the real world conditions are becoming less and less conducive to a satisfactory end to the cliffhanger-esque ending of Inquisition and / Trespasser.
Yes.
It's the more time passes, the less likely everything is to be set up perfectly to get the appropriate satisfactory ending to that story. Unfortunately, like, your options for ending that story, like the Solus-centric story, I don't think are good in, like, a book or a comic or another medium. Like, I kind of feel like that has to be ended in a game. But there's a whole lot of other shit going on that leads me to think, like, are we really going to get a game that's perfectly set up to close that loop, which is what all the hardcore fans want. But you mentioned, you know, a more casual base that's potentially out there. I don't know. Like, the more time goes on, like, the less confident I am in my own predictions about Dragon Age 4, because I just feel like, you know, you and I started making Dragon Age 4 predictions 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And they were really sort of 2017-based predictions, and now it's like, none of this shit's going to age well for you and me specifically, because, like, it's not our fault. It's like, you know, maybe we'll get into that in some of this episode, but, like, a lot of things are changing at BioWare, and in EA, and in the industry, and for RPGs. And so it's like, what type of game are we going to get with Dragon Age 4? I don't know. Even story-wise, I think even some of those things that I never would have questioned, like, are we going to get, you know, I still think the game's going to be based around Solus, don't get me wrong, but is everything really set up conducively for the game to be able to focus on that and that alone?
Yeah, I have no idea. Like, there's just like so far, I think yes, Solus in some form has been in every single trailer that we have, but that trailer being 2 and maybe a half if you count the behind the scenes one. Well, I guess there was the one where it was just shots of buildings, but at that point, like that, whatever. Anyway, but like he's been in basically everything, so we know he's there. But like, is he going to be the Mage Templar War of Inquisition? You know, where it's like you wrap it up and like, is he a good guy now? You know, him and Llewellyn start banging in Act 1. You know, like who knows what's going
Happy
on.
ending.
Happy ending in multiple ways, but yeah, I don't know. So, and this is what I was saying when I like when people are asking me to do like Dragon Age 4 predictions all those years ago, and even now. When I was playing through the series the first time, I was kind of playing them in a bubble. I wasn't talking to anybody. I just liked the first. I found the first game thinking it was something else, and I got it for free, and I just like steamrolled through the series in like a month or two. And I wasn't really talking to anyone about it. So I like at the end of one game, I came up with these preconceived notions of what the next game would look like, and they all ended up being completely different. And I liked all 3 games, but like what I thought I was going into in each game just did not end up happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I completely expect that for Dragon Age 4. We are all going to sit here and like, which here's another bad thing that Dragon Age 4 is really going to have to deal with. The really hardcore fans, I know I've done it, maybe you even have done this. We have spent the past better part of a decade coming up with a game in our heads that is going to be amazing or something at least we really, really like. And in no way, shape, or form is Dragon Age 4 going to be able to compare to that. And like there are people that are expecting these things to happen and really want these things to happen and like have hyped themselves so much for it that if we don't, let's say Maevaris Talani, if we don't get a Maevaris Talani romance, I think people are going to riot because they expected it at this point. Like, oh well, she's single and she's hot and I just want to fuck it. Like it's just. I've expected it, and but like in reality, like even in the context of the series, I will say that she was only had eyes for her husband, and I don't think she would be romanceable. But no, like the people who are sitting there waiting for it, like they're not going to hear differently, and it's been like that for the better part of a decade. So I think no matter what, I don't think it's going to have as big as a backlash as Andromeda did, but I think Dragon Age 4 is going to have some hurdles to jump.
I like how you listed criteria. First of all, you said people are going to riot. I mean, people on Twitter are going to riot. Regular people are just not even going to aren't even going to know who that character is.
There's going to be like maybe a group of 100 people who are stuck in this fandom for 10 years and are going to riot because they couldn't fuck so-and-so.
Yeah.
And their people might make fun of them. But I guess what would be interesting is that I don't know what you call it, venom, if you will, carry over and like some other person that has just kind of walked in the door was like, yeah, I'm mad. Yeah, fuck that guy. I don't know who he is, but fuck him. You know, is that what's going to happen? Or no, everything's going to be chill. I don't know. I just can sense there are going to be people upset that something stupid didn't happen. You know?
Yeah, no. I mean, look. I like to make fun, of the Twitter crowd. Obviously, there is a hardcore fan base of Dragon Age. I mean, I'm technically in it, I would say, as someone who's just played through the games multiple times and spends time talking about them. And yeah, I think that there's a lot of people at Bioware who want to make sure that core fan base is very pleased. And there's, there are developers who are working there now who are like in that core fan base because they played Origins before they even worked at Bioware. And so I think that there's always going to be discussion and thought about how to please those fans. But I do think that BioWare is becoming more proficient at taking direction. That's maybe the nicest way I can put it. And EA is going to have a particular direction that they want, and BioWare is becoming better and better at acquiescing.
Yeah. Now, real quick to jump back a topic, is there are some people that I almost want to say are in denial about the 10-year time skip, because I personally believe we are going to see a 10-year time skip. There are some people saying, well, what if it's like a Dragon Age 2 type time skip? And 30 years ago and, whatever, for 952 is going to be like the last of the time. So at the very end of the game, it's going to be 952. And that's what's going on, which I argue that doesn't really make sense. Why would they write it like that? That kind of just doesn't, I don't know, which then maybe the argument is like, well, you only meet those characters at the end of the game. But then again, why would you spoil the end of the game? I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, there's other people saying that it's just straight up an editing error, which I think if that was the point, there was enough tizzy about it on the internet.
Yeah, they would have fixed it.
They would have fixed it, which kind of goes into another point we'll go into later.
I mean, the Dragon Age 2 theory has some precedence because that was a structure and a format for Dragon Age 2. To me, that feels like a very Dragon Age 2 specific thing. I don't know if they're... I feel like if they were planning to do that, again, for Dragon Age 4, this would be a really weird way to tell it. Because Dragon Age 2, it's like they even talked about it in interviews. Like, yeah, we've got this structure where it's going to take place over the course of 10 years and Rise to Power is like semi-part of the marketing pitch, right?
Yeah.
I don't think if they were doing that for Dragon Age 4, this is how they would be telling us.
Not at all. So, yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm not like thrilled with the 10-year time skip because I can't even really give a good solid reason as to why. Maybe it's because I am just in denial about my own 10-year time skip in between 2014 and now. That could be entirely plausible. Yeah, I think the initial shock of it was like, wait, that doesn't make sense. Actually, you know what? It probably has a lot to do with what I was talking about earlier, where there's a Dragon Age 4 in my head, and that did not, it was in congruence with the Dragon Age 4 in my head. Now that I've ruminated on it for a couple days, I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever, 10 years. Get the shit.
Hey,
so yeah, I'm wondering if that's that.
Yeah, fun fact, you said something interesting about how when you first got to the franchise, you kind of had this picture of what the next game was going to be, and it was always kind of a little bit off. That's interesting to me, because number one, I think that time frame when you're first getting into something is, we all wish we could technically go back to that, because that's when it's at its purest, and sort of fandom and community and whatever else is sort of like, that's never really what drives anyone's love of anything, it's the thing itself. But that's kind of on the side. Fun fact, I've been really good at predicting Mass Effect games. Like, as far as what their content's going to be. Like, not to brag, and I don't have receipts, quote unquote. Unfortunately, the closest thing was like an article that I was going to write for this one site. It's like some small site that's now defunct, and I don't think we ran with it. For some reason, we paused it and didn't publish it. But it was between Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2, and I was describing like my wish list of things, and like, you know, like there's technically loyalty missions, but they're not called that with Rex and Garrus in Mass Effect 1. Like, I was talking about how that needed to be in there for every companion, and it needed to be like a more unique mission, and like being able to upgrade the Normandy, being able to have more characters like live or die, being able to have like missions where you specifically chose which party member does what. Like, I basically laid out a lot of key features that ended up being in Mass Effect 2 as being on my wish list. And I did a similar thing for Mass Effect 3 as far as like, you know, you're going to be at war with the Reapers. You should be able to secure alliances with choices and like have actual resources in the war and stuff like that before they ever announced any of that in like the marketing. But I've never tried to predict anything for Dragon Age. I've never even tried. So I think we're in the dark on that.
How did you do it in Andromeda? How did you do with Andromeda?
Pretty well as well. I mean, I think that was in a lot of ways the game that I imagined them doing with like, I just think the granularity of it or the resolution of a lot of their features never got to be high because of the development troubles they had. So like base building, I figured was going to be like a component, and they did kind of, but you could tell they just kind of ran out of time.
We should totally have an episode that's just you putting like all your chips on black and like prophesize Dragon Age 4 to us. See what
that would be fun. Right now, I don't have a lot of image in my head because I don't think we know enough, but you know, I could list what I want, and then because that's basically what I was doing in all those other instances. I really wasn't even trying to. I wasn't really trying to predict as much as I was describing what I wanted. And they've, to their credit, they've always kind of given me the game that I imagined in my head, which is weird. Which is kind of why I love Mass Effect so much, because it always kind of seems to be what I'm hoping for.
Well, that's let's store that in the episode bank. Go think, and then we'll move on.
I mean, knock on wood, as soon as you say something like that, it's ruined, right? So.
Yeah, that's true. Someone's like, oh yeah, you already fucking did that in episode 2.
Or worse, they're going to blame me for Andromeda. Because I liked it. I don't know. Sorry.
I Oh god. So are we done with time skip? Do you want more? Do we have anything else?
Are you happy about it, or are you just indifferent towards it?
I was. So I just to like paint the picture because we just talked about Dragon Age Day. Those stories literally released just as I went live on the Dragon Age Day. And so like I am beginning my journey of sitting in a chair for 4 hours and doing nonstop talking and about Dragon Age lore and some important things that you would need to know going on. And they just released some new shit. One of it was very important and I'm sitting there all flustered. So I think at the very start of it, I was like, oh, I'm not a fan. Like, this goes against my little mental image. I'm kind of stressed right now. Not having a good time. But like, given, a couple days and like really thinking about it, I'm like, there's a lot of questions I have. Like, specifically with the Qunari. Like, I think if the Qunari issue, like, was given like a satisfactory, not conclusion, but like an answer of why it's been that long, then I think I could be okay with it. But there's some things that I would like to know what happened in between those 10 years. And like, if you actually look at the ending Trespasser credits, a lot happens that it would be kind of hard to fit all that in 2 years. So I kind of don't mind it as much. I guess so. I don't hate it. I just have a lot of questions that I want answered is my general thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm mainly indifferent towards it, but it's like, I wouldn't say I'm happy about it. I go back to what I said before. The elements in the real world are becoming less and less conducive to being able to fully focus on the story that was essentially a cliffhanger from the end of Inquisition and Trespasser. Like, this is going to sound like a weird thing, what I'm about to say, but I wish that if I could go back in time, like a ghost, to talk to the folks at Bioware, the ghost of Bioware podcast future, I would say, hello, Bioware. I don't know if I would use that voice.
Yeah, it's a little dumb, but just run with it now. Me and Caitie appear as ghosts in the Casey Hudson's still there, Mark Darrah's still there, and I'm doing this thing. I don't know if anyone remembers this episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but there's this one episode where Will and Carlton are trying to convince some person that they're in a dream, and they're doing this weird thing with their arms, where they're kind of like waving their arms in front of them like ropes. It's just me doing that, talking to Casey Hudson and Mark Darrah, going, "Don't make Anthem," and Caitie's just going there like, "I'm sorry, he's talking so stupid." But for real though, don't do the anthem. You don't need it. Let's move on with your lives.
No, what I was trying to say before I made up a stupid anecdote. Ideally, the more I think about what their release schedule has been, I wish that Anthem, and I don't mean to sound harsh to the people who like this, because there's some really great people who are fans of Anthem, but just practically speaking, I wish Anthem hadn't happened. I wish that Andromeda had not happened yet. I wish that Dragon Age 4 would have been the game from Bioware that released in 2019. I wish they would have started work on it immediately after Inquisition, because that was what is best for the story, the way that was left off. And if there's a game that's going to come out in the 22 or 23 time period, I wish that game was the Mass Effect game after Mass Effect 3, because the story was left off in such a way where an 8-year or 10-year gap between releases would have made sense. They didn't have to release a Mass Effect game in 2017 based on where that franchise was at.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that the next Dragon Age game would have been the first thing that they focused on after Inquisition. You kind of scrub Anthem. I'm sorry to the Anthem fans from the release. And then they would have been working on Mass Effect. The same Andromeda concept, they would have just worked on it much longer and gotten it right. I think that we would be talking about a different world for Bioware if that happened.
I mean, I can't say I disagree at all. Like, I think Anthem had some good qualities, like the flying around mechanic was great, like there was like a core there that was really fun, but overall, especially for it to just die, that is just so unsatisfying that you're like, why even bother? Why all this work, all this heartache, just why bother? So
I mean, not only that, like there's this thing now that like, GTA has done it, Red Dead Redemption has done it, apparently Cyberpunk's going to try and do it as well, where like you release your single player game and then you kind of release your multiplayer after as kind of like an add-on to it. It's like they could have made a Mass Effect multiplayer where it's like you're in Andromeda, so you're on a planet that's like barren or whatever, and just give everybody jetpacks, and it could have been could have been very similar to what Anthem was anyway, quite frankly.
You're not wrong. Yeah, it could have been. But yeah, kind of like the world of Anthem is obviously a lot different than Mass Effect. Actually, if anything, it's kind of closer to Dragon Age. But yeah, the technology is at least there to like make sense of giant flying machines and alien worlds. So, well, woulda, coulda, shoulda, huh?
Yeah. Too bad I can't turn myself into a ghost. Okay, time travel ghost. What else do we have on the plate for today?
Well, we were just talking about Mass Effect. Do you want to go into the weird thing that happened?
Oh, we're talking about the Mass Effect trailer thing?
Yeah. This is one of those I don't know what to do with this piece of information, and I also don't know who saw it originally or like what, but like right before the Game Awards, which we'll get to soon enough, the Mass Effect trailer, the Mass Effect would you say 4 or 5?
Mass Effect Next, because they don't know how to... People just reference it as Mass Effect Next because that was kind of... Mass Effect will continue.
Yeah, because they keep saying that. So Mass Effect will continue. What's that?
We don't know if it's 4 or what they're going to call it, but the next Mass Effect game had most recently, and just, barely a month ago, the N7 date sort of little thing that came out, and now it's gone from the Mass Effect YouTube channel. I think it's gone from like Instagram, Facebook, like all the socials. It's just gone.
Yeah. Now, it's still up on the internet because people retweet everywhere, and it's on like GameSpot and so, or even just like the original. I think it aired last year on the last
Game Awards.
The Game Awards. So if you like go to the Game Awards archive, it's there. So like it's not gone forever, but yeah, it is kind of weird that it's just gone from all the socials. Like I don't know what to do with it. And if it was just like one video, then that's like some intern just made a oopsie. But like if it's actually like gone from all the socials, then that's deliberate, you know?
Yeah. Well, people are asking about it. People are, of course, no one is hesitant to just like at BioWare directly be like, "Where's the teaser? Where's the teaser? Where's the teaser?" So they're getting hit with questions about it all the time. If it was purely an accident, I'm sure they would have noticed by now. Mm. So they did something intentional. I just don't have that much of a conspiratorial mindset about it the way some people do. Like at this point, like there's nothing there to really speculate on. Like what are the implications that are reasonable from that? Like nothing.
I think what I would assume, there's the worst case scenario and what I think is the probable scenario. The worst case scenario is that they decided to can the entire Mass Effect whatever. In that case, I can't imagine they would pull it because then they would just want to quietly never release anything ever again, and then people just think it died a natural death.
Sure.
So I think this would be like the dumbest thing to do if they decide to do whatever. What I think is the most probable answer is that somehow, maybe with like background music or because it wasn't part of the trailer at the very beginning, there was like different radio frequencies and whatnot of different things, like maybe something with an audio or a visual thing, something legally like didn't clear on the usage and they had to pull
it. Yeah, it's a possibility.
That's the only thing that kind of makes sense. Or like I don't even remember the trailer that well. I know Liara's in it. Does she speak? Does for some reason they decided Ali Hillis needs a better performance? So I can't imagine that. But like something just needed to be re-edited, and it's taking a while, and they needed to get rid of it now, and then they'll fix it up later. Something weird like that, where it is kind of dumb and doesn't really matter, and none of us are gonna be talking about it when they re-upload it in a couple months. But yeah, it's which I should say, that got pulled on Thursday, and it's now like Sunday, so it's been a couple days. So only one work day though, so maybe sometime next week we'll get some information on that. But
yeah, everything like to me, I think you're exactly right. Like something technical happened where they want to change something about that trailer. I don't really think this says anything about the project itself.
Yeah, because I think that if they were going to change the direction of the project, they wouldn't draw attention to it.
Right. Right, exactly.
I just think that's a terrible idea. So I think that whatever is going on, it's probably just some like weird legal thing that something fell through. I don't even know what.
Legal or just technical? I honestly, I'm not saying that I think it's this or that it's this granular, but like if it turns out to be like some weird, like all of our videos need to be in this frame rate or like format, and for some reason, like some pencil pusher at EA was just like, the Bioware folks uploaded a trailer that wasn't in the right blah, blah, blah. And they're like, shit, all right, let's take it down and redo it.
Yeah, but that would only work on YouTube with different socials. They would have to have different requirements. At least you think so. I don't know. Some pencil pusher.
I mean, so it's like for anyone who has gone to the crazy place, like you said, worst case scenario of like the project's canceled. I mean, the pinned tweet on the Mass Effect Twitter is still the poster from the Mass Effect Will Continue and 7 Day. Like Mike Gamble still has it as his avatar on Twitter.
Yeah, so you would think that would get pulled too if that was the case.
It's not like they're trying to scrub all the landing page of Mass Effect is still talking about the next Mass Effect. It's not like they're trying to deny the existence of the next Mass Effect.
Yeah. So I just think it's some weird thing. I don't even know. Especially one thing I will say, like it was a year ago. Like what happened recently that suddenly who knows how recent it was actually? Like who noticed it? Because like when I search for any trailer for Dragon Age or whatever, very rarely is the BioWare trailer the first one to pop up. I'm just looking for a trailer. I don't care who gives me the goods. Who sat there and actually went to Mass Effect and go, oh wait, the trailer's not here. Like it could have been months since it was deleted. We don't actually know,
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know who can take responsibility for finding it first. But I do think it's somewhat recent. I wonder if it has something to do with the Game Awards.
That's what people were saying, because people were like, "Oh, are they gonna do something for the Game Awards?" And then like it didn't happen. Maybe it's Game Awards wanting to host their own trailer, like only on Game Awards media they can release the trailer. Like there's some weird thing like that. Like
I don't know.
They had, or maybe it's like they had a year to host it on their own thing, but now they have to. That would actually be okay. If that's the case, then they would also pull the Dragon Age one. Did the Dragon Age one get pulled? Because it was all set the same show.
I don't know.
Let's look it up real quick.
I know that it's probably around. So like I know I look at some people on Twitter who are like around December 9th, like right before Game Awards were talking about it, and then that kind of came. And I don't know that people were talking about it in November. If they were, I wasn't hearing about it. Yeah,
the Dragon Age one is still on their website.
I feel like this news popped up in the early part of December. And again, I mean, people can speculate. I just don't think that this has any real like major serious implications for the project itself.
Now, one question, is it unlisted or is it taken down?
It's unlisted from what people are saying.
Okay, so you can still go there, it's just unlisted. Is that right?
I have not tried a link, but the wording that other people have been using, it says unlisted.
Let me.
Oh, nope, sorry. Private. It's privated, not unlisted. I just clicked a link.
Oh, okay. So
shout out Mass Effect News on Twitter for doing some actual investigative work.
Huh. Well. So privated. Yeah, I don't know. There's nothing to divine from it. It's just weird.
It is, because it's the trailer, not like the poster is again still up big on all of the major official stuff for Mass Effect. I don't think that it really says anything about the project. It's just there's something weird about the trailer. I don't know. Everyone calm down. I think it's all going to be fine.
Well, now what do we do?
Okay, so speaking of other news, because we said we were going to talk about multiple different topics, Matt Goldman, who is a longtime employee of Bioware, over 20 years with the company, was a senior artist going all the way back to Baldur's Gate, and has been a major lead, and was most recently the creative director on Dragon Age 4. I think this news is already, a couple weeks old by this point. but Matt Goldman has left the company. The way that this came out was in a Kotaku article, which basically just described that Gary McKay, who is the GM of Bioware, sent out an email internally to the company that basically just said, Matt Goldman is no longer with Bioware. It's effective today. And then he goes on to talk about, the EA's commitments to not letting this affect the quality and not affect the team, etc. And that email was sent out internally, and then it probably took 2 seconds for people in Bioware to reach out to certain media contacts that they have, and so Kotaku had the story, and at this point, everybody knows all of this, because we're not a news show, so we didn't jump on this right away. I don't have a lot to say about it, honestly. It might sound kind of weird to some folks, because, I've had my opinions about the different departures going all the way back to like one of the early episodes of Split the Veil was like talking about Mike Laidlaw leaving. We obviously talked about when Casey Hudson and Mark Darrah departed. And if you're a BioWare content creator, people just want to know what you have to say about it. Honestly, I don't feel like I have a ton to say about it. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's great that another senior lead member has left. I don't think it's great that these departures, particularly amongst leadership positions having to do with Dragon Age specifically, I don't think it's great that this continues to happen. I'm saying basically the same thing that I've said every single time this occurs. It's not good. It's not great. Probably doesn't bode well for the project. However, just the same as with every other departure, there are lots of talented people at the company. One person does not make a video game. Lots of people make video games. BioWare is a studio that has many talented people. This is not a reason to think it's the end of the world. It's not a reason to say that the sky is falling. However, it's not good, and this has happened enough times now where my takeaway from this, honestly, like, regardless of anything specifically around Mr. Goldman, I think we could talk about the way it was announced, the fact that it hasn't been officially announced on like the BioWare blog, the way that other major departures have been. Maybe that's suspect, but I don't know how to comment on that without getting into irresponsible speculation. And I'm not going to do that because I don't know what the circumstances were. Nobody knows what the circumstances were. If Matt Goldman's not going to talk about it and BioWare's not going to talk about it, we're never going to know what the circumstances were officially. Even if some Jason Schreier story comes out later, that's going to be third party, and it's going to be corroborated, I'm sure, between multiple sources, but we're probably never going to find out from the major parties involved why this separation occurred. So, what does that mean for the project? Look, I don't think it's good that there have been multiple major departures specifically around Dragon Age, and that Dragon Age development has been rebooted at least once. I think at this point, it's fair to say that Dragon Age 4 is going through a tenuous or kind of some struggles in development. Doesn't mean it's going to be a bad game. I think Dragon Age Inquisition had a tough development cycle and it was Game of the Year. I think Mass Effect Andromeda had a tough development cycle and it was a good game, but it let a lot of people down as far as what they expected from Mass Effect. And Anthem had a tough development cycle and it really wasn't very good according to a lot of people. Yeah. So we've got all three ranges. Like, which one is Dragon Age 4 going to be in, considering the fact that it's basically a troubled development cycle at this point? I don't know. How the heck is a BioWare podcast guy going to tell you that? I have no idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my basic thought on it. I don't know why Matt Goldman has left. Nobody does. I hope the best for the team more than anything. That all of this tumultuousness, it's going to have some effect on them. There's no way that it's not. I just hope that for the sake of people who are working hard every day to make something that's good and that they can be proud of, I just hope they catch as many breaks as they can between now and when Dragon Age 4 comes out. I'm pulling for these people. I'm not saying that I'm not trying to be a shrewd consumer and, all this other stuff about this. It's not like I'm rooting for a corporation. I'm rooting for the people who are working hard every day to make a good thing. And, yeah, that's about it. I hope everybody still working on Dragon Age 4 catches as many breaks as they can before the game comes out.
Which I will say they've also been hiring a lot of people recently, too. Like, there's job postings, but, like, I've seen a lot of people just, like, say, hey, I'm now working at BioWare. So...
It's beautiful. It's really great. All right, so that's what we had on that. Where are we going now?
We're actually
Game Awards. Yes?
Yeah, the Game Awards. So BioWare was incredibly kind and generous and thoughtful about my time and said they weren't going to be showing up at the Game Awards, so I didn't watch it.
That's probably a smart move, according to a lot of people.
Yeah, I will say I caught like because the way it was, like I was spending time with my family, and like eating and stuff like that, and then like the last hour of a 4-hour show, by the way, which guys, come on now, 4 hours anyway, but I caught like the last maybe hour to it or whatever, and even that I had it on mute half the time. Because let's be honest, the Game Awards are maybe like 30 minutes of awards and then 3 hours and 30 minutes of advertisements. But the only thing that kind of stood out to me is everyone's talking about Elden Ring. No offense, I don't give a shit about Elden Ring, so I don't care. And then there was, I forgot what the company's called now, but they're being lauded as a bunch of ex-BioWare devs because they had like a good amount, but like there are people that were never at BioWare that work there.
Yeah, they got a
few. Who released a trailer for a game called Nightingale, which like if I don't know if it's my game because it also looked like a first person, which just makes me barfy, but at the very least, they had such a strong visual design that they got my attention. I thought it looked really cool and looked really pretty. I don't know if I'll ever be able to play it, and I'm not really like a survival person, and also not a big fan of like multiplayer games. There's like a select few if it's like co-op between one person. Sometimes Michael and I will play it together. But this looked like a bunch of people, and that's not where I'm at currently. So I don't know if I'll play it, but it'd be interesting just to see some of the stuff that comes out of there. And that's literally all I know that was cool at the Game Awards. I think there was something about Saints Row, but I don't think you can do Saints Row how Saints Row needs to be done anymore, to be quite honest.
You're right. Yeah, Saints Row is like
Saints Row is irreverent and almost punk in a way, and corporations are never going to release what Saints Row was at its core.
Yeah.
Maybe it has the same look to it, and I think it does look similar, but there was like this dumb, gross edginess that Saints Row had that I can't imagine they kept in there. I have not seen a single dildo sword, and as soon like if I see a gimp pulling a pony ride that you have to shoot bazookas off, then I go, okay, you know what? Maybe it's there.
Well, it's not that's like, I mean, its constituent parts, like it was built off of a lot of stereotypes.
Yes.
Honestly. And it was built in a time where people not only weren't deeply and horribly offended by stereotypes, but I think people even had kind of like a passing, not an appetite for, but like people understood that a stereotype with a comedic purpose was not inherently malicious. You know what I mean? Like they were kind of like, oh yeah, that stereotype is there for comedic purpose, and I don't think it's the most awful thing in the world. I don't think that that's the place we're in now, by and large.
Yeah. Yes. Because Saints Row was kind of the video game version of Scary Movie, you know?
Sure,
and like, maybe the first Scary Movie was kind of funny, but the rest of them were dog shit. And I'm kind of expecting that. And like, let's not kid ourselves here. Saints Row is not like high art or anything. The fourth one was kind of weird.
No, yeah, like, so like the real, to me, the ultimate context for Saints Row and its history is this. Saints Row is clearly sort of like trying to steal or copy the Grand Theft Auto formula, the original Grand Theft Auto formula. Like, Grand Theft Auto is a series that came to prominence for the quality of the games, sure, but based a lot on the controversy around Grand Theft Auto games and how offensive Grand Theft Auto games. Mm-hmm. Saints Row is the series of games that popped up basically saying Big Brother's gotten boring. Okay? Saints Row is the game based on the idea that Grand Theft Auto, arguably one of the most controversial game series in the world, got too realistic and too boring. That's what Saints Row was always meant to. That's the audience that it was always trying to cater to. If it's not trying to cater to that audience anymore, who then? It's just like Watch Dogs, but not, right? So
yeah. So I hope it's good because I did quite enjoy Saints Row. Maybe the gameplay at its core is fine, but like I don't know if it's anything I'm gonna play. Then again, I'm not really in like a place right now where I'm trying a whole bunch of new games and have a whole bunch of time on my hands. But like,
yeah.
you know. So yeah, they showed that. What else did they? Is there anything like any game things? Did you even watch it?
I watched the whole thing.
Jordan, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so here's my thing about that. So I watched the whole thing, and you know what? I'm kind of shocked that we're still having this conversation about people being mad about the Game Awards. I don't get it anymore. Like, I don't understand what the gamer boys exactly are expecting to see in these things anymore. Like, they don't play movie trailers at the Oscars. Like, what do people think? It's clearly not an award show. Like, it's clearly not an award show. Like, I think you said 30 minutes, which is like, that's a pretty good guess, but it's probably like 5 minutes. The way they read they go like, here's the nominations.
They don't read the nominations.
They don't. That's exactly it. They're like, here's the nominations. It's up there for 5 seconds, and they go, and the winner is this. And by the way, this game also won 3 other awards.
Yeah, and like the devs, they go up there and go, thank you for it, and they already have like that, the hook coming out to show them off the stage.
I think if you strung together all of the actual awarding processes, it's maybe 10 minutes out of that entire thing. The rest of it is commercials, and also, it's commercials and sort of like void substanceless platitudinal nonsense that doesn't help anybody. I'm not even going to get into the specifics of all the platitudinal nonsense, but it's just like there were things that they wanted to communicate, which they attempted to communicate in the most tepid way possible, which makes no sense. You may as well just not do it.
I am so tempted right now to just like, with my shitty editing powers, just pull up a video of the Game Awards and then edit it to like with the YouTube title being the Game Awards if it was actually an award show, and it's just like the clips of the awards show and it's like a 15-minute show.
Oh, do it. Are you kidding me? That would take off. You should so do it.
I'm thinking about it.
But then you'd have to watch the thing in order to...
Yeah, that's the problem. Then I have to actually sit there and edit a 4-hour video.
It's like, it's not an award show. It's a commercial. Like, first of all, okay, it's an award show, supposedly. The premise is that it's supposed to recognize the excellence within gaming over the preceding year. Why is it not in January? Like all the other awards, like, why does it take place in December, where they do this weird thing where each year there's some game that came out in November or comes out in December where they're like, that one's not really a part of this year. We're going to count it for next year, which doesn't make any fucking sense. It shouldn't be in December. The only reason why it's in December is because it's a commercial for Christmas presents.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why they do it in December. And I'm not mad at Jeff Keighley. Jeff Keighley, like myself, enjoys money. And so Jeff Keighley is just... Yeah,
look, if we could go back in time and like we have the connections to start the Game Awards, like you and me, fuck yeah, we would have.
Sure.
Rolling in that cash.
Yeah.
Don't blame Jeff at all. But yeah, I completely agree. Like, it's just, this is the way the world works and it's stupid.
I'm not mad at Jeff Keighley. I'm just beside myself that every year people become incensed again and they're like, I can't, but it's like the hot takes after the Game Awards of people going, the Game Awards is really all about is money. I'm like, well, did you forget that when you said that after the Game Awards in 2020? Like, you said that last year. I almost feel like it's a cycle where like people know they're going to be able to get clicks complaining about the Game Awards for the exact same fucking reason that they complained about the Game Awards last year.
Yeah, pretty much.
So anyway, I watched it. I thought it was too long. I thought like that Hellblade gameplay, and I'm not even a fan of that series. I just saw that gameplay and I was like, holy crap. Like that really does kind of blur the line between cinematic and gameplay. I thought that was cool. Mm-hmm. Knowing that there's a Wonder Woman game that'll be out in 7 years. I mean, all right, I guess that's cool too. The Star Wars Eclipse, like, right on. I like Detroit, Become Human. I like Heavy Rain. Again, that'll be fun to play in 5 or 6 years. Like, there's some stuff that was out there that I thought we got it was like a minute long for Horizon, the new Horizon game, which I'm a fan of that series. So those little snippets of gameplay, I was like, that looks really cool for the 30 seconds or so that was up on the screen. Mm-hmm. It was all like good for what it was. My expectations were basically nothing. So it's hard for me to be disappointed when my expectations were basically nothing. A lot of work goes into that show, and I'm sure it's lucrative for the people who put the work into it. But for the people who actually expect it to be a showcase of games That's not what it's going to be. E3, you have a better chance there, although E3 is pretty dicey at this point also.
Yeah.
And if you're actually, I mean, if anyone's actually, if it was an award show where they didn't do game reveals and trailers, no one would watch it.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So the gaming community is basically, as always, saying, give us more trailers, while we all simultaneously say, don't rush games out, while we all simultaneously say, rightly, I mean, I'm not criticizing these things, but like rightly saying, give developers more money and more time. And like, something has to give somewhere, right? Like, don't rush developers, don't crunch them, pay them more money, let games take longer to develop, but also show us more things earlier, but also don't show us things that are going to change later in the development cycle. Like, at some point, we have to admit that those are not all reasonable demands to make at the same time. Like, one of those, something has to give, and hopefully nobody thinks that what should give is the human cost of overworking people. So, you know, we're going to get more teaser trailers and less gameplay, and it's going to take longer to get them.
Yep. Which is like, at what point is that going to break? You know, because like right now, like a lot, like when was the last Elder Scrolls game? I was in college. I had just started college. You know, when was the last Grand Theft Auto game? It was a while ago.
Yeah.
Like the things are just taking so long, and then I guess just to, I don't know, make time, they're just re-releasing it and stuff like that.
And what the weird thing is, like, re-releases and remasters are actually doing very well across the board for everybody. So they're doing incredibly well. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to just, you know, give the publishers a pass either. I think maybe the answer is the marketing apparatus is not nearly as essential as people think it is. Like, I think one day we're going to figure out that if we all just found out about games a few months before they came out, that would be fine.
Don't you remember it was somebody, was it Beyonce who did it? She just like dropped an album and there was no fanfare about it. Was it Beyonce? Was
this happens all the time in the music industry. Kanye has done this. Drake has done it. This is becoming more and more frequent in the music industry, which is to do with stealth drop. You basically tell people, you know, in the afternoon, it's coming out at midnight. Go get it. And people love that shit. I wish that there would be a AAA game that could do that.
Yeah. Especially like one with a brand name. I think like, you know, probably the best one to do it would be like a Grand Theft Auto 6. Everyone knows who Grand Theft Auto is.
Yes.
My mom knows what Grand Theft Auto is.
Yes.
Like if someone just says, "Oh, hey, Grand Theft Auto, get it on anywhere right now. Happy birthday." People would just lose their minds.
You don't need to see a trailer. You don't need to see a gameplay walkthrough. If you recognize what the words Grand Theft Auto are in the context of a video game and not the felony, you basically know if you want the game or not. I guess the only reason why video game stealth drops can't happen is because, especially within the console ecosystem, so many eyes they have to pass cert, they have to do all these different things.
So it would be leaked at one point. Yeah,
like an album is literally just turn the thing on and get it to iTunes and everybody, and just, you know, MP3 files, right? So with a video game, it's a little bit different. But I wish. I mean, even if it was like 2 months out, like maybe, I don't know what the shortest cutoff time is for it to be a quote unquote stealth drop for a video game. But literally, if you name the perfect example, because if Grand Theft Auto 6 did that, it'd be the biggest news story in gaming for like 3 years.
I completely agree. I think the closest we had was what was it? Fallout 76?
Fallout 4 was only 6 months.
That was it. That's what I'm thinking. Fallout 4
and it was beautiful. It was amazing. Yeah. Like, the reveal of it was a 30-minute gameplay demo in E3, and then he's like, yeah, it's out this fall. And everybody lost their shit, because, like, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. And that's the last time anyone's ever done that in, like, a major gaming studio. And, like, it's kind of, I would love that to happen again.
If only publishers, and no one's going to take my advice, and they probably shouldn't, because I don't work in video game publishing, but maybe we don't need that much marketing apparatus. Maybe that whole effort could be a lot smaller, and you could all save yourselves a lot of money, and just don't push so hard so early.
Well, I think it also depends on the game. If you have like a name recognizable game, then no one probably cares. But yeah, if you're selling, you know, your little indie game, or even Dragon Age, I don't think would do well if they just stealth dropped it. Like, obviously, a lot of us would go freaking nuts, but like, let's be honest, it's a small series
compared to Mass Effect. Yeah, for sure.
Well, yeah, and like a lot of other things, like it's just kind of we're on the small side.
Yeah. Anything else Game Awards wise that stood out to you?
No, I felt free. I had an evening to myself, and the Game Awards were going on, and I sat back and relaxed and didn't think about it. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it, and it was like definitely in the back half, I wasn't paying that much attention, but people should calm down with like lower your expectations for the Game Awards. That's my main point.
Yeah, especially I don't say this as like a making fun of them. I say this as a genuinely concerned. But like on Twitter, there's people like, I'm going to watch the Game Awards just in case there's Mass or Dragon Age or anything there. I'm like, guys, they already said they weren't. I mean, it's okay. You can go do other things. Like if this is just like you're having fun and you're just going to make fun of it, that's great. But like, if you generally sitting there and then are disappointed it's not there, I just have to be like, honey, come here. Come in for a hug. Let's just talk about this. Are you doing okay?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on?
Also, it's okay to miss things.
Yeah, there's this amazing thing of, the internet doesn't let anything be forgotten. So you can actually go, especially you European kids that have to stay up all night. You can go to bed and then wake up and then immediately see it, and like you wouldn't have actually missed anything. There's nothing you would have missed because you were able to sleep, and then you woke up the first thing in the morning and saw it, and you are now officially caught up with everything that you see online.
It's incredible. You can watch videos on the internet later. It's
on
phenomenal.
Demand, unless to loop it back, you like Twitch streamers a lot and they don't save their VODs. Then like you have to stay up all night watching your favorite streamers.
Or if or if Mass Effect takes down the trailer. But you'll have a year at least.
You have a year, and hey, people re-upload everything. I have the amount of shit I have stored on my hard drive that's Dragon Age related. There, like any official Dragon Age video that was released after I started doing these videos is not lost. I have an archive. There are archives people. There are people like me. There are people on the internet that will strive to save the strangest things. All you have to do is ask someone, does anyone know where I can find a copy of this thing? And you will most likely find it. It's amazing.
If only you could find me the footage that I'm convinced I imagined now, where a Dragon Age Inquisition trailer had a chained up Hawk being thrown down on his knees, I think at Skyhold. I imagined that, didn't I? There's no scene where that happens.
Not a hawk. No, I don't think that was ever.
I think it may have been a TV spot that I saw it in. I am 1,000% sure that I saw it. I've never been able to find it.
I'll look into that. That's probably like maybe you thought it was hawk and it was something else, but I'll look into it. All right, which let's because let's do a light Google real quick.
Ooh, I love light Googles.
Hawk in Chains trailer.
I'm pretty sure I've tried to Google it many times.
There is a IGN video saying, "Is Hawk in the new Dragon Age thing?" And I'm not going to.
Hawk is in one of the trailers, though, right?
I don't remember. I know I have a collection of them. I cannot tell you because a lot of the trailers kind of like just blur for me.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, they clearly do for me. I imagine certain portions of them. Like, watch I mention this, and then it turns out to be real, and Caitie does an entire like documentary on it. It could be like UFOs. Like maybe other people feel like they like they saw this, and we just band together because no one else believes us.
Yeah. Okay. So So I guess in a trailer they showed Hawk and Alistair in the Fade, and that's what they're talking about. They're not talking about slamming down in Skyhold.
Yes, I think when I think about this, I guess what I did was maybe I looked at that and I mixed it up with some other trailer that had something like that. I don't know, but I knew that Hawk was pretty sure that Hawk was in the trailer, and I think it was that section where they're in the Fade.
If they ever showed Blackwall in Chains, because that would be like that same animation, and like you might confuse one bearded guy with another bearded guy, especially if they never showed male Hawk, because the Hawk in this trailer is female Hawk. So you might think, oh, was that Hawk? When it was actually Blackwall.
Mm-hmm,
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Just a thought. I'll look into it though. Oh, hey, look! I think it's your video. Yeah. And I googled Dragon Age Inquisition Hawk. Your iconic Hawk and Inquisition video popped up. Look at you.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. People are mad because I uploaded that. It's like a whole hour of me like dicking around in Character Creator, which is not like a proper tutorial or anything, and it doesn't just show you what the settings are. So I think most of the comments on that are people just mad at me that I didn't edit it down. And I was like, I decided to upload this after like 15 seconds of consideration. I'm like,
so you got to think about the future when you accidentally get a lot of views on it, and you go, oh man.
Just take your complaints to a real YouTuber. I care nothing for them.
Well, anyway, now that we're probably going to cut that bit out because we've just been silence for too long. Where can they find you, Jordan?
They can find me on YouTube at the Exalted March. Leave comments if you want. Twitter at the Exalted March, although I despise Twitter mostly, and Instagram at the Exalted March, etc., etc.
Do you even post on there?
Not really, but I might one day.
Okay.
Caitie, where can folks find you?
Sorry, just going to say that you're like, oh man, talk to them a real YouTuber. Oh, I hate Twitter. I don't really post on Instagram. Anyway, follow me in all those places. I do post somewhat frequently on YouTube and Twitter, I guess, as Ghildirthalen. You can find me in those places. And with that, everybody, Darashirol, and probably see you in the new year because I don't think we're going to have time to record another one.
Who knows?
All right, bye.